to the presentation. So welcome to each of you. I'm so happy to have you here today. Articulate Your Why is a workshop that I've been teaching for a while. And then given all that has happened in this crisis, I was very inspired to create a new version that's very timely to what's happening. To give you a little bit of background, some of you know me from my past work. I co-founded a co-working space called Green Spaces New York for actors and performing artists. I'm sorry, that's the artist co-op in a space I'm an advisor to. Green Spaces is for environmental and social change makers, and it was acquired and became Impact Hub NYC. I'm in a little bit of a different flow today because right before I started this, I got some news that a longtime friend and colleague is in the ER, and so I'm praying for her. And as times of crisis and tough times emerge, if we stay positive, if we connect with our why, we can stay inspired and keep going. And that's what I'm doing for you here today. So when my co-working space, Green Spaces New York, was acquired and it became Impact Hub NYC, I worked for them for 2 years as their VP of PR and marketing and head of market development, helping to build that space. I oversaw 5 Impact Hubs in the SOCAP conference. And then it was time for me to exit and move on from having co-founded this community that started living and breathing on its own. And I decided to create a consulting practice because really at heart, I am a storyteller and that's what I love to do. And while I love the social and environmental entrepreneurship community, it was definitely a vision of mine to raise this community with my team and then create a new framework for supporting people. And I created this framework called Triple Bottom Why, which came to me one day. It was about aligning a person's why you get out of bed in the morning, with the why of their organization, why they exist, and the why of their audience, which is always changing. And when you do that, it highlights values which align with the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. So I had this idea for a new method that we're going to be talking about, because really it's that method that is key to articulating your why. And so I found that when I put words to this method and created a process, it strengthened all of my communications work, whether I was doing marketing strategy, brand storytelling, digital, social media, whether I was putting together a client pitch, a brand story, supporting someone with rethinking their bio, their personal narrative, with how a website should be framed. It all started with this why. And it went further from some people I'd studied who talk about the why of an organization, to also address the why of the person and the founder behind it, and then also connect it with the audience and then align with values. So some amazing people I've studied. Simon Sinek, I purchased a why facilitator's license to his method, and he focuses on why, how, and what. He has a beautiful golden circle method and a TED Talk and a best-selling book, and I'm very inspired by his work. And then when I started researching how I could take my own method and create an online course, I started researching education methods. And what I learned is that storytelling is educating, and that the why, how, what framework has been used since the 70s, partially by someone named Dr. Bernice McCarthy, and started being adopted by everyone. And she has a format learning model. And so what this means is that we have different brain types, all of us. Some of us are why people. We want to know why something is happening. What's at the root of it? What is the big high level vision? Some of us are what people. We want to understand what this means, what this actually is, the nuts and bolts of it. Some of us want to know how something is done, but how does that actually work? What does that look like? How can it actually happen? And then some of us are if people. If I partake in this, what's the transformation that will happen? What is the result? So why stay connected to our why in a crisis? And I'm going to talk about why this is important right now. And then we're going to get into how to do that and talk about some of the brands doing a good job. And then we'll have the process guide you to articulate your why today. I'm just going to take a quick pause and check on the chat and make sure everyone is still with me. Oh, thank you for your nice words, Matt, my friend and colleague. Thank you. It looks like everyone can still hear because no one has reached out, so I'm going to continue. So why stay connected to your why in a crisis? You know, I'll tell you, when all of this first happened, this was not easy. And I was definitely not staying connected to my why at the beginning of this crisis. You know, I heard about what was going on in the news. I had been doing some traveling. I had just been very inspired. I had been hired by NYU to go to NYU Abu Dhabi to teach my Articulate Your Why method. I had just gotten amazing news about a client that they were going to be recognized in Fast Company's list of most innovative companies. And I was invited to write about this method for Thrive Global. So here I am thinking 2020 is awesome. 2020 is going to be my year. I can't wait to engage all of these people and share this method further. And then all of a sudden I return from my trip and things start to happen and the coronavirus hits. And as someone who loves co-working and working from co-working spaces every day and has done so for 10 years, all of a sudden I'm in my apartment and all of a sudden people I know are immunocompromised, people I know are getting sick, and the economy starts to unravel. And life as we know it starts to unravel. So I, being that I work as part of what I do is in PR, became obsessively watching the news and started to get more and more frustrated and disconnected from my why and started to feel pretty powerless in all of this. And I started to write a lot of negative Facebook posts. I don't know how many of you and I are Facebook friends, but it was not pretty. So what started to happen was I started to have some light bulbs go off in my mind of how to be more positive. I started to reconnect with my why. We definitely had about a 2 or 3 week pause in there. I started to have an idea. I thought that wouldn't it be great to write to the governor with some of my ideas about how to help the economy in this time. And I wrote the governor a letter and I started to feel empowered. I decided to create a version of this presentation to share with each of you to figure out how I can support others during this crisis. Because when there is so much going on and there's nothing we can do about it, we can work on our why and stay connected and make a positive, constructive change and stay motivated this way. So it's about motivation. It's about positivity. It's also about creativity. New times mean that many of us are brainstorming. We're thinking about new ways of doing things. We're having new ideas, perhaps for a new business. Maybe our business failed overnight and we have to start a new one. Maybe we're thinking about a pivot for our business. You know, I can tell you, I've been wanting to put this content online for 4 years, and here I am finally doing it. So it's a wonderful opportunity to be creative. And when we stay connected to our why and we stay created, we stay in love. And this is something I learned about from a mental health resource who's been amazing to me. Her name is Helen Kramer. If you ever want to learn more, go to helenkramer.com. And she talks about that when we stay in love, we are able to better connect with our creativity, our intuition, and we can stay away from fear, which is the opposite of that. And when we can stay connected to our why, we also have more to be grateful for. And all of a sudden, the things that we have to be grateful for can start to rise. So for me right now, while I was upset that I was confined to my apartment after being such a co-working fan and advocate for so many years, I need to be grateful that I have my health, I have my safety, I have a home where I can interact with people and do my Zoom meetings, and I can take this time to expand instead of contract. So let's talk about some people and brands that are nice examples of aligning with their why right now. I don't ever like to get political, but I think it's almost, you can't not really acknowledge what's going on the TV every day, and leadership certain people and figures have demonstrated at this time. You know, Governor Cuomo, I think, has been very personable He, right on his website, has his own priorities. He talks about his values of civil rights, education, environment, health and wellness. Every day he's giving us updates about what people are doing. Every day he's taking action, and he is pulling through, driven by his why to get through this with us, despite the challenges that he has going home. You know, his brother has the coronavirus. If we look at one partnership that actually Governor Cuomo, I believe, announced recently, is a partnership with Headspace. And so Headspace is a meditation app. We're going to be doing some meditation today. And, you know, for me, meditation has been something new in my life that I have connected with over the past few years that I wish I had connected with much sooner, because it's been such a great resource of calm in this time. And so if we look at, you know, what their why is, they talk about mindfulness for your everyday life. And how you do this is you stress less, move more, sleep soundly. Those are some of the outcomes. And they have, what they've done for us is they have a free series called Weathering the Storm, and it includes meditation, sleep, and movement exercises to help you out however you're feeling. And it's their small way of helping us find some space and kindness for yourself and those around you. Another brand that I really love is Sweet Green. I've been a fan of them a long time. If you look around on their website, you know, they talk about their core values: think sustainably, make an impact. Their win-win-win, which while a lot of other companies talks about a win-win about money, their win-win-win, it says create solutions where the customer wins, the community wins, and the company wins. So they have the community built into their model. On the left here, they have this feed the frontline tagline. And right now, that is the core focus of their homepage, so that everyone can connect with this message right now, and you can donate to their Impact Outpost Fund. And they are on their Instagram leading with this message, serving 100,000 meals. So I thought this was also a nice way of showing the communications from a brand, how they can share what they're up to at every touch point they have with us right now, which is always very appreciated. If you want to look for more examples of brands here, because there were so many that I would have loved to include today, someone shared this with me. I was crowdsourcing resources to share with you and asking people about, you know, brands and leaders that inspire them. And so someone shared this didtheyhelp.com with me. And so you can type in companies, celebrities, and people and see how this website believes they're measuring up and the impacts that they're taking. So before we jump into the articulate your why process, I want to just check back in on the chat. Let's see, we've got the chat here. Thank you so much for sharing that website, Lil. That is the website for HelenKramer.com if any of you want some mental health resources. She is incredible. And as a full disclosure, she is someone that worked with me for a number of years as a therapist, and then I started supporting her with marketing and PR efforts. So I do support her in getting the word out. So now let's get into the articulate your why process. So we're going to, Vanessa says she's not seeing the chats anymore. Before we meditate, is anyone else having a problem with the chat? Yes. Someone else? Yes. No. Okay. Someone else sees them. So since I'm sharing my screen right now, I'm just going to quickly try to do a chat tutorial. Lynn is having a problem. She has to click chat for them to reappear. D. Kinsey says, I can see the chat now. I see them. So just if you're watching your screen, if you go to this area, someone else can see them now. So you just have to click around. As you can see right now, I just moved my mouse up and then this bar appeared. And if I go to more, then I can see the chat. All right, I hope that's helpful. We won't need the chat as much in this phase now that we're going to for meditation. So I'd like everyone to stay with me and meditate. And I love doing this as a mind clearing exercise, as a way to clear the head, relax the body before we get into something that's creative, something that I learned. So if everyone wants to sit wherever you are, that's why I have a picture of a chair. Or maybe you're in your bed, or maybe you're on a couch, wherever you are, maybe you're sitting on the ground, that's fine, whatever is most comfortable for you. Close your eyes. And first, we're going to start with a breathing exercise that will calm your nervous system. So we're going to breathe in 4 and breathe out 8. So just follow me and I'll start the exercise by counting with you. Close your eyes, breathe in 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to continue this quietly. You can count to yourself for just a couple of minutes, and then I'll be reciting a meditation to inspire the next phase. So again, breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue on your own. Continue to breathe. And as you breathe, just think about some of these things I'm going to talk about. Just keep your eyes closed and keep breathing. Keep counting. Why is it that you, as a person, are inspired to get out of bed in the morning? What comes to mind? What words? This should be independent of the work that you do. It should be something that maybe you felt from a young age, a motivation. Keep breathing. Keep thinking about this question. Next, think about your work. Why is it that your organization exists? If right now you're rethinking your organization, think about your next organization. Um, if you're thinking about starting something, if you're thinking about a transition to a new job, a new career path, think about that mission and their values. Think about whatever words come to mind. Keep breathing. Next, think about who you are serving. Um, think about the audience of this organization, whether it's a place where you work now, whether it's a company that you'll be starting in the future, whether it's a place you would like to work. If right now you are doing a volunteer project and you're not working, think about those people you will be of service to. And think about their why. Think about what motivates them, what gets them out of bed in the morning. Think about their why right now at this moment in time. Keep breathing. If any of you are struggling with this, I'd like to share a heart meditation that I've learned. Um, after the tension and the anxiety starts to dissipate, then we can go to another stage of meditation connecting to our heart. So sometimes it's difficult to feel, so you can literally put your hands on your chest here and breathe in and feel it, and you might feel some softness. It's also sometimes helpful if you put your hands on your thighs as a way to feel it, and you inhale and then exhale. Those are heart breaths. And that can take you a step further in getting into your creative and love space instead of coming from a place of the daily stress that we all face and the anxiety and some of that inevitable tension that is here right now because of this point in time. So everyone just do a few heart breaths, and I'm going to repeat some of the meditation, and then we're going to resume the presentation. So if you want to continue breathing and feeling your heart. start to open your eyes a little bit, and I'm going to repeat the questions as you're coming out of your meditation. And if you have a piece of paper, use it, or if you have, could be a Microsoft Word document on your computer or Google Doc, just start to write down some of these answers. You know, why are you motivated to get out of bed in the morning? You personally. Any words that come to mind, doesn't have to be complete sentences, words, phrases, anything. Just write down your instincts. If you don't have anything and you want to stay in very connected to what we're doing, you can even put it in the chat. I'm going to go to the chat. Okay. So I'm just going to take a minute. We've got someone sharing opportunities. Thank you, Lynn. Got someone else, connecting with others and alleviating suffering. Anthony, to empty my brain. There's no right or wrong answer. These are all beautiful. To see the sun. And nature. To be outside, to make things, to love, serve, and teach. Connecting with others and nature. I'm just reading some of these. To care for farm animals and family. To create, to inspire, laugh, love, and have fun. Excitement by the prospect of making positive change. These are all wonderful. You know, personally, I've worked on my why statement a bit, and I like to say my why is to inspire and connect people so that they and their communities grow and thrive. But it doesn't always, in conversation, seem very appropriate to bust out with that why statement. And so I like having my why words to drop into conversations, communication, stories, so that I can feel connected with what inspires me, and fit into these different communication pieces that I'm creating. We've got more, to make a difference, to educate and provide resources for others to embrace their agency. Figure out how to live a laptop lifestyle, job transition, and help my mom who is in her 80s. That sounds like a great goal. So we're going to explore some of these structures I'm talking about. So like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. While we explore the different structures like the why, how, what, and if, even if a phrase or something you share is not exactly in the why, it's going to lead us there. We're going to understand what's at the root of that. Problem solve, interact, engage with others, discover and explore new horizons, travel. Okay, let's move on now to the organizational why. Again, if you're not working right now, this can be a project, it can be volunteering, it can be if you went to support someone and deliver a meal, it can be the new organization that you're starting, or it can be the organization you're employed by. Just think about some sort of organization or brand association that you're connecting with right now. And think about that organizational why and mission. If you are a founder, that's something that you have the opportunity to write. If you are an employee, it might be something that was already crafted for you, but there is a certain way that you connect to it. And that connection for you is the most important part. So think about any words or phrases that come to mind having to do with the why of the work and purpose at work in your world right now. And you can write them down privately, type them, or include them in the chat, or both. So we got someone up, Stacy, to provide healing tools. Beautiful. And connect people with nature. I love that. For me personally, inspiring and connecting people so that they and their communities grow and thrive, that aligns very well with my consultancy where I do that through storytelling. And for me, storytelling is like a how through PR, marketing, brand, digital communications. Emily, to make a positive impact all around toward better quality of life for everyone we work with and who is impacted by our work. Beautiful. It's another opportunity for you to look and see, what is aligned with you personally right now. As we're in this transition stage in society, we don't know how long this is going to last. And we don't know how the economy will shift. And it's a nice opportunity to reflect and rethink what we're doing. So it's a nice test for what we're doing to think about who are we and our own personal why, and are we aligned with that in our work and purpose in the world? We've got some other comments here from Sachiko to bring people together and create ripple effects. D. Kinsey to inspire and support people to co-create regenerative community using permaculture design ethics and principles. What else? Okay, let's start to now do the empathy practice involved here. Put ourselves in the shoes of our audience and who we are serving. So this might, sometimes there's many audiences, right? For this, I would encourage you to pick one. So for example, with the work that I do, I have clients. I have someone like yourself who's coming to one of my webinars. I've got some friends on Facebook. I sometimes talk to my mom about my work. I pitch journalists about it. I pitch journalists for clients. It can be dizzying the amount of audiences that there can be. So for the sake of this exercise, just pick one. Pick one audience, one of your core audiences that will help you gain something from this exercise. And think about their why, their day-to-day why they get out of bed in the morning. And just see what comes to you. And write it in the chat or write it down privately or type it privately or in the chat. And think about their why and how their life has changed in this new time, just like yours has. And think about, what does this mean to them? Because as we develop our story and message, we can develop something and feel wonderful about it ourselves. And we can stand behind it fully as a person and really believe in what we're putting out there. It also, though, needs to resonate with our audience. And it's a great test to see if that's the case. So we've got a couple of responses here to strengthen their health and their beloved's health. Excellent, very timely right now. Legina, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. My audience is physicians who I'm creating mindfulness training materials for, and their why is caring for patients and themselves in this difficult time. Yeah. Um, Sachiko, for my audience to flourish and be authentic. Great. So as we can see, this is another opportunity to think about the why from perhaps before the coronavirus, and think about it during and after, and think about what your audience is going through, because timing is everything and mindfulness is everything. And one of the reasons I was showing images of the brands is that I think we're all on social media. And so we've all seen brands that show excellent leadership. And then there are some that look like it's a regular day and that haven't responded to the crisis, or maybe responded because they had to, because they were going to be closed and they needed to communicate their hours. It's an excellent time right now to be of service and be of service authentically. So we've also all seen brands that, perhaps might have been offering something, but we didn't really connect with that. So this is a wonderful opportunity right now to think about how we are connecting with our audiences before, during, and after the epidemic. So we've got some other messages here. Audience is the elderly, how to be happy and healthy despite feeling alone and lonely. Great. Another one, people feeling lonely, craving connection and purpose. Yep. Another one, to care for and nourish their families and employees. Yeah. And so if you're struggling with how to connect to what's happening right now globally, think about that. Who right now would not align with caring for and nourishing their families and employees? That's something that can be universal. So there are certain universal things that we can all connect to, like serving others right now. And then the more unique words and things that come to mind that we can personalize for our unique why as a person and for our unique values and purpose as a company, the more we can authentically craft that message to connect with our audience in a way that resonates. Anyone else? Okay. To help our community with economic hardships and retool skills. Cool. I would love to know more about retooling. I like that word because it's hitting everyone. Okay. So continuing with the presentation, keeping the chat over here so I can keep an eye on it. This is the method that we've just walked through the meditation. It's about aligning your own personal why you get out of bed in the morning, with your organizational why you exist, and your audience why, which keeps changing. And so when you do that, you have a formula for empathic, values-based storytelling. We've got another comment here. How to help our community with economic hardships and retool skills. Oh, that's the same one I just read. Sorry about that. So let's keep going. So now that we have done some initial work on articulating your why, and that exercise we just did, by the way, I like to call hack your whys, because there are sometimes I work with people for months to really articulate and hone their message. But during these workshops, people just write down their instincts and the first thing that comes to mind. And when you go with your instincts, there's a lot that you can achieve that's really great messaging. And so thank you for doing that together. So now that you have taken a first stab at articulating your why, in terms of how to stay connected in times of crisis, I always tell people you can keep refining your why. So now that you have some messaging to play with, you can share it with people. You can share it with your friends. You can share it with colleagues. You can think about some of your audiences and share and test with. And it could be in a conversation like we're having together right now. Actually, you're chatting and I'm speaking, but we are communicating. It can also be in an email, it can be in social media. See how people respond. You can pick up the phone and call someone and have that be an excuse to connect. Um, you can be testing different messaging on your website and seeing how people respond. So you can keep refining your why. There's a free resource on my website that you're welcome to download. It's called the Triple Bottom Why Philosophy Paper. And it has a little bit deeper of a guide to guide you to writing out these whys than we've talked about here today. And you're welcome to download that for free. I would say maintain visibility to your why. It's one thing to articulate a why and we write it down and we have it. And then tomorrow we do something else, and tomorrow we do something else, and the day after. And then pretty soon we lost it. We forgot our why. We put it in a drawer or it's in a notebook and we didn't keep it out in front of us. So that's one thing you can do. You can even make a little sign and put it in front of you. Something that I did since the coronavirus hit is I was talking to my aunt and I was saying how, working from home, I really find that I'm happier when it's sunny. And she said, well, why don't you draw a sun for the days when the sun is not there? And so I did that. You can easily write down your why statement and put it on your window. So that way you maintain visibility and connection to it. See if there's a way to align your why with some sort of service right now. So doing this exercise with you, for me, is a type of service because I am hosting something for free. I am sharing something that I've learned. I am supporting people in a time of crisis in the best way that I know how. So you might think of some sort of service initiative, and it might have to do with what you do every day at work. It might be totally different, like delivering a meal. But if that aligns with you and your why, you're going to be connecting to it and you're going to be feeling good about it and staying positive. Like I said, use this as an opportunity to test your work. If your personal why is very, very far from your purpose at work, it's a nice time to be rethinking things. And we have some extra time at home to start looking around. Obviously, the job market is not good, but that doesn't mean that we should do nothing. So it's a really good time to think about your why and think about how it interacts with the other work that you're doing in your life. It's also a good time to consider pivoting. Right now, like I said, I have my client work, and I've been wanting for a long time to put this coursework online and develop it further. And now I'm taking this creative time to do that. If we go to the next slide. So building on that, I've heard some really beautiful things from people in my network. Donalyn Savello, she's an interior life coach, numerologist, and spiritual teacher. There were some fun emojis there that didn't download from my Canva just now. But she says it's not isolation, it's incubation. So you can right now take this time in isolation. It really is isolation in some cases, if you're like me and you live alone. But you can also take this time to incubate and have incubation for this idea. It's a really wonderful, beautiful, creative time. And then I saw this Facebook group, Isolation into Creation. So not only can you be incubating these ideas, but you can be creating them and putting them out there. I had a version of this Articulate Your Why program, and I just created a whole new version for you today. And, I normally sometimes take a lot of time to do things, and perhaps too much time. And then all of a sudden months go by and I haven't done anything. But this time I said, okay, I'm giving myself a week to update this presentation, a week to incubate and create, and then put it out there, regardless of whether it's perfect. And so I just wanted to share those phrases that are inspiring me right now from those people. You can also practice empathy. So if you want to go further with this exercise, if you have a number of audiences, not right now, but after this exercise, you can outline your audiences, you can consider their needs, you can think about how you can pivot your message toward them. So while your why and your values will not be changing, how you address these different people and communities and what those are might change. And so you can test how you are of service right now and test your work. And if there are any people that you want to practice with, if you perhaps have a client or a potential customer that's a friend or someone in your community, you can request feedback. And it's a nice time to put yourself out there in that way, and to get someone's feedback, because everyone might have a little extra time at home right now. So I want to point you to some storytelling resources, but since we have time, I also want to take some time to break down some of these whys um, together, for anyone who either has a good example they'd like to share with the group, and we can break them out into the why, how, what structures, or for anyone who was struggling and would like some support. So would anyone like to share and outline their whys right now while we have the opportunity? And I'm going to stop the share and pull up a whiteboard presentation. So hang on one moment. So now we have a whiteboard here. And I'm going to make sure that I can see the chat again. Here we go. Would anyone like to volunteer for this whiteboard exercise? And so what we'll do, just to show you, is we will have a why, we will have a how, a what, and an if. Now, most of you are new at this, and so I'm here to help you listen to your message and put it into these categories, so that you yourself can have this structure. It's a wonderful structure for a brand story. I believe I used this structure in my communications with you, in my descriptor for the class. And so I'm here right now, and I'm happy to help anyone map this out if they would like. And so if there's someone who wants to go, I think I could also unmute someone. So let's see, but I first need a volunteer. So we do not yet have a volunteer. So let me just leave that chat open. Okay, we have Anthony, great. So let's see here. How can I unmute Anthony? We've got participants here, attendees. Anthony, I'm going to allow you to talk. Okay, Anthony, it says you are on mute, so you need to now, I'm going to unmute you now. Oh, whoops, hang on. Anthony, can you speak?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Great, great, good. Thanks for volunteering. So Anthony, why don't you tell us?
Thank you for inviting us all.
Sure, sure, it's my pleasure. So why don't you start talking to me about your personal why, and then I'm gonna listen and make some notes in each of these categories where it makes sense from my experience.
All right. Without getting too woo-woo about all of this, the personal why is just to make sure that I leave the place better than I found it, regardless of the place.
Okay.
But in the big picture, the place.
Okay, great. Okay. And so that's a personal why. How will you be doing that? Is that through the work and is that the connection or is there another way?
I actually, it's through the way I conduct myself personally and through my work. Um, I
Okay.
try to help out wherever and whenever I can, uh, and
Mhm.
on a personal level, that could mean helping family members or friends, or uh, something as simple as shutting the lights off or not letting the water run too much, and in a or helping, yeah, again, helping family members. But from a business and professional perspective, I
Mhm.
just try to be as uh, useful with resources as possible, and not be wasteful. And for me, that means there's a lot of upcycling, and when dealing with new components, um, point toward zero waste as an ideal target.
Okay. And I'm just gonna label this. This is the business why, and this is the business how. And some of this is a little bit of overlapping. You know, the resources, um, and being useful. But I would say this connects to the higher personal why, leaving the place better than you found it. Um, so let me ask you this: to get at the business why do you want to be as useful with resources as possible and not be wasteful?
Well, aside from just feeling as though it's the right thing to do, we live in a finite and basically closed energy system. Other than the input energy of the sun, what we have here is what we have, and that's what we have to deal with. Um, so,
Okay.
I believe in nature and I believe in physics, and um, these are the laws that govern life. So, I I I think we have to, you know, do the best we can to do the best we can to do the best we can, um, with what we have,
Okay. Great. Why?
because um, it's better for all of us if we do that.
Okay. That's a nice I just was encouraging you to go a little bit beyond what you were saying just to try to get at some fun why language, but like better for all of us, doing the best we can to do the best what we can with what we have, nature, physics. These are all great. So we started here with the aside from being the right thing, we live in a finite and closed energy system, but we went a little further. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Cool. Um, so now, so I'm just going to move this down to, hang on, the how, and then these are the business why. I was just figuring out how to use this whiteboard tool here. Thanks for bearing with me.
you're,
Um,
you're doing a fine job.
I'm new at the Zoom whiteboard. I'm just figuring it out. We're all figuring everything out, aren't we? Um, hold on. And then let's think about, your audience. Hang on. And I hope we have more room on this whiteboard. Hang on. Can I go down? What is this little thing? Oh, 2. Okay, so let's put the audience here. Why? For the audience. So let's talk about your audience now.
The audience, I think there's 2 general audiences. There's a corporate audience, and there is a general public audience.
Which one, for the sake of this exercise, do you want to focus on?
I would focus on the corporate one.
Okay.
On this one, because I think that the corporate audience is composed of members of the general public, and
okay. Okay.
So
Right,
do you want to know who that audience is? Or what's your next?
When you think of that corporate audience, what is their why?
Their why doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what I do, and through education, I think they can get in touch with that, and you know, I use a very similar method when speaking to this corporate audience that you're walking us through, and I try to get what we're doing business-wise to align and resonate with what they are doing in business. So just to put a little bit of make this a little bit more concrete, I design and manufacture bags and accessories and sewn products for corporations, and I do that through upcycling and the use of materials and components that have been deemed otherwise useless, things that have served a purpose but are now destined for the landfill. And by showing them that there is still more life left in what they're getting rid of, and that it can be turned into something useful and perhaps even beautiful, reassign value to it.
Okay, hang on. So so this is more, and this is great because this helps with the whole why, how, what, if structure, but these structures now go back to like your work, how and what. And so, and connecting with why about beauty, reassigning value. So your why with your audience, it sounds like, is to transform their why a bit. Am I right?
Yeah. In essence, what we're doing is we're we're taking a situation that they're in, creating waste, and using that as an opportunity to create something positive. So where they would normally spend marketing and PR dollars to hide what they're wasting, we're
Mm-hmm.
suggesting that they use this waste as a feedstock for something new and, again, perhaps beautiful, and have that create a better story for them. So instead of hiding what they're doing, they can now be proud of what they're doing, and at the same time be doing something that is generally considered to be better.
Mm-hmm. So I think, well, I think you're tapping into something here. Let me ask you a little bit more about this. Um, this audience, and you can see with my quick typing, I've got some typos, so sorry for that. Um, this
That's okay.
audience, you know, who are these people that you're talking to? Like, what departments, what level at the corporation are these people?
Um, a great deal of what we have done has been in the trade show and exhibition space.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with the trade show managers, with uh, the, the the people at the top of the food chain as far as the presentation of the trade show is concerned. So, for example, um, you take a trade show that would be happening at the Javits Center. They have banners and the like, vinyl banners, cloth banners hanging from the ceiling and throughout the venue. What we do is we take that material, which they would normally be disposing of in uh, sometimes hidden ways, and
Mm-hmm.
we turn that into bags and accessories that are then given out to guests, press, attendees, etc. And
Mm,
um, and it's been,
cool.
it's been quite a cool thing to be able to do. We've gotten
Yeah.
some good feedback on it, and we've got some good clients. And now, obviously, given the situation that we're in, there are no trade shows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
Um,
a bit of irony there, but that's okay.
well,
Um,
well, let me ask you this. I see why you think that their why doesn't have to do with what you do. I understand that.
yeah,
However, I don't know if that's always true. You know, if just my speculation, because I've not met these people, I have done some trade shows at Javits. You know, constantly bringing things in and throwing things out is a lot of energy spent. And I've
yes,
seen when Javits tears things down, like I'm surprised people don't get killed. You know, that's how I felt looking at Javits Center and working there. When I
yeah.
was setting up a booth and then it was being taken down, it was like, whoa, like I have to look out
Whoa,
for all
yeah,
these
right,
carts going by and all of this
yeah,
waste. And then, when I worked at a company, we were in sustainability, but and luckily we had a design house to bring the things from the exhibit back to and put around the house, but otherwise we would just be tossing it and I would be transporting it back for nothing and no good reason. And
yeah,
so are all their clients. And so I think having a system that's more efficient would appeal to them. And then them being surprised with the creativity that of things that you have and do with could be really interesting. And then also knowing that they're doing something positive, I think that would just make them feel a little bit better about what they do every day. So
It,
these are ways of
it
connecting with
does.
that. Yeah,
But they don't necessarily know in advance of this that these waste materials or these materials that have already served a purpose can become anything other than what they already are.
sure.
So
So let's
that's the education component.
yeah. So like I said before, storytelling is educating. And so whenever you're creating something new and innovative, you have to educate the market. And
Right.
so that's part of what's really interesting about this case is that you have to share with them why they're going to care. But in order to do that, I just want you to think more, even if it doesn't have to do with what you do, what is their why? Even if it has nothing to do with what you do.
Whew. Yeah, I don't know. Can you rephrase that? I'm
So
having a hard
I'm a
time
trade
wrapping
show
my head. Yeah.
manager. I'm a trade show manager. I work at Javits, every day, another show.
Well, can I just
What
jump
gets
in?
me out
Can I
of bed in
just
the
jump in
morning?
for a
Sure,
second?
sure, sure.
I want to make sure that everybody understands that I am not vilifying Javits. They have an amazing sustainability team and
I'm
initiative.
not even talking about that. I'm
Yeah,
talking about as a person, these
yeah,
people, just like you and me.
yeah.
What's do you think that what's their why likely?
Their
Just
why
think.
is to I think to make sure that the attendees and the guests of the trade show leave better, leave knowing more, leave having made the connections, leave the trade show enriched.
And so what I just want you to see is, this came from you just now. I think that's beautiful. And I think your program and what you do only adds to that. So I think what you do does connect with their why.
Okay, that's
because
great.
because
Thank you. Yeah.
your sustainability is part of that enrichment experience. And so if you start off with I don't know what your process is, but if you might have sales meetings with these people, and do you pick up the phone, do you email people, how do you get in these rooms?
Yeah, more often than not, it's email introductions through,
Email introductions.
yeah.
So I would literally, this is my ad lib quick audience connection why. I would just say, writing an email, I would say, hey, it's nice to connect with you. I really enjoy the Javits Center. I always go learning something, having made connections, feeling more enriched, and here's something that I offer that aligns with that. And
That's
it could just be that
fantastic. Yeah,
simple.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
great. Thank you.
yeah, sure. Um, so in any case, I know that this, like with Anthony's case, I love that we had, a challenge to get through to the audience why, because it doesn't seem so obvious. And so that's a lot of, I love that that comes up because I do believe it's possible. And I do think that there are some fundamental things that we all have that we can connect with and make these connections. Especially at a time now where we really don't want to waste anyone's time because this Javits person who's managing the trade show is now worried about a hospital that's being made
Yeah.
at Javits. And so we really want to be mindful of this and put a lot of energy and thoughtfulness into how we reach out and what we are talking about and what we're offering.
Yeah, well,
So
I did as this was unfolding, and became apparent that the Javits Center was going to be, the hospital. I did reach out to them and immediately say that this is not a business call or a business email. This is
Yeah.
uh, uh, an offer of help. If there's anything that I can do through my connections and what I do on a day-to-day basis, i.e. working with factories that sew and manufacture things, if there's anything that I can do to help, please know
Beautiful.
that, you know, we're here and we'll make whatever connections are necessary to make what you need happen. Which
Great.
they
Yeah.
acknowledged, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they're grateful for. Yeah, yeah.
So here's what I'm getting at, and I'm just gonna hop back into the presentation because that's a great jumping off point. And you know,
yeah.
all the work you're doing is beautiful, and I love this. Hold on, I'm gonna go back to the participants, and I'm just gonna mute you again. So now we all have an opportunity and a challenge here, because we all want to be of service, right? Like I am here sharing resources with you. I know now is a time to be of service. Um, and we also have the challenge of continuing an economy and continuing business despite what is happening, right? Because, you know, ultimately, our businesses, we could make some changes, but fundamentally they're going to keep going. And so the next question is, you know, how do we craft our message so that we address all of these things and we keep pushing forward? Um, so I am just going to give some suggestions here and some free resources, and then another offer that I have that's going to address this. Um, so again, you know, I am committed to service. You know, these are some resources that you can use as you're going down this path. There is the Golden Circle Method from Simon Sinek, and that is free. He has a TED Talk you can watch for free, and he has a website with resources that you can go to. There's a philosophy paper on my site that's free, that you can download as a guide to mapping this out. There's also the format education model. Now, again, we're offering free resources, we're offering service. We're also continuing our economies and we're continuing to grow. And so this is just something I want to put out there, that for anyone who wants more personal attention, I am offering a deeper class about this, that you can find on my website. So I think it's a balance, and I want to go back to Anthony now to hear his opinion, because I think we need to maintain this delicate balance of being of service to people, doing what we can, having projects where we are constantly giving, but then also pivoting our message and continuing to build our own economy, which is going to in turn benefit the overall economy. And I want to get some opinions about this because I think it's controversial. You know, how do we keep building this economy when there are so many people in need? So someone just said we can't see your presentation. So hang on, I'm going to stop the share. I am going to go back to the presentation, share. I'm going to look at the participants. Anthony, what do you think about this? And if anyone else wants to talk, please enter in the chat about what people think about continuing to offer, like I said, free resources. And sorry you couldn't see this slide before because it was on the whiteboard slide. And also continuing to build your own economies, that are going to contribute to keeping this economy going. So I'd like to hear some responses from people. I'm going back to the chat. Please share your web address. My web address is triplebottomy.com. Anthony, you are talking permitted. Do you have anything else to share about this? And does anyone else have anything to share? Just write in the chat and I will unmute you because we have about 8 minutes left.
Yeah, I think that you know, what you're doing is fantastic, and the basis, the foundation of sustainability is self-perpetuation and regeneration. And, you know, to have a sustainable business, you have to be in business. So there is a delicate balance that you have to walk, especially now, where you have to do good and make money. So, you know, maybe you just make a little bit less money and you help out that way. You know, by making it's hard because you don't want to say, yeah, you have to keep making more stuff, you know, more stuff that nobody
Right.
needs, you know. So there's a delicate balance there, but you know, that's what I have to add to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, so we have that opinion that we need to keep going with an economy, and we can keep doing so in a way that adds service and value, to have sustainable economies, because we agree that's important. You know, maybe it's also important to be of service more and to make a little less. That's an opinion from Anthony. What other thoughts and opinions do we have? Okay, well, I'm going to be following up with everyone after this with all of the resources we talked about today. So there are going to be the free resources, the philosophy paper. You know, I've got someone else here, how to collaborate with each other. Is anyone else interested in collaborations? Free content that grows your reach. That's what Stacy says. Tammy says, I'm in incubation and creation mode to use this time to come out with an even stronger business model on the other side. Great. Stacy believes and still charge for products, because while I would love to work, and while maybe Stacy would love to work for free for everyone, that's not going to revive our economy, is it? We do need to keep going with our businesses. But then again, like Stacy said, maybe offer some free content that grows your reach and that is still of service to people. What else? This is all wonderful. Betty Newman, yes, for collaboration. So maybe I could put together some sort of Facebook group about this. Does anyone have a platform, preferred platform for collaboration, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a Slack channel, warm intro I've seen as well, whether it's email? We have a suggestion for WhatsApp, so I'm going to be exploring this. Vanessa says email. And then Anthony believes the collaboration is what makes things better, where the end product is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, WhatsApp. And then if any of you are interested, can you all see my screen right now? Still on my website or no? Your screen sharing is paused. Hang on, resume share. Okay. Bring your window to the front, hang on. I'm gonna be sharing again. Going to be sharing Chrome. And for those of you who want to go deeper, you know, I am finally inspired by this crisis and inspired by all of you to create this online masterclass. And so for anyone who wants to dive deeper in this, we're going to be going further on your personal why, your brand's why, your audience why. We'll be testing and pivoting. We'll be integrating them into different parts of your story, whether it's your strategy, client meetings, creative, social media, web design, PR, and you'll have this why, how, what, and there'll be a weekly coaching circle. So if you want to learn more, let me know. And I will think of some sort of collaboration platform whether it's email. So email or WhatsApp. So if you want, just send me a note with your vote, or maybe I'll organize a quick poll of people to figure out what the best option is. But I'm really inspired by each of you and what you wrote in your chats and how you participated today. And Anthony, thank you so much for volunteering and being a part of this. We have another Google Suite vote, okay. And any other questions? We have 2 minutes before we hop off. Any questions at all? Okay, Tammy said thank you. I'm going to extend my thank you and gratitude to all of you. Vanessa wants to know, how should the why be on a website and where? Okay, I can add some tips in there. Stacy says thank you. All right, thank you. I really appreciate you bearing with me as I was learning the whiteboard technology and figuring out things with the audio and the chats, and I'm grateful that it overall went smoothly. I'm happy to be here with you as my community in this crisis mode that we're in right now, and I'm really excited to collaborate with you as part of what's going to keep me motivated and inspired and connected to my own why. So thank you for that.